When I get a hold of the doctor, he asks me, well, what have they told you so far? And I said nothing, just that he was in an accident and then I need to call you. And he just tells me, well, as of this point, he's dead.
That night, I was raped. And I remember thinking, when it was over, that my life would never be the same.
And we were informed that there was a problem. That problem was a very rare diagnosis called encephalocele.
So here I was, 30 years old. I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and I was pregnant.
And I found out when I got to the hospital that he was killed by a man under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And I got to go in the hospital room and say goodbye.
From 14 to 24, I just acted out.
So it felt like I was in my grief alone. You know, everything just kind of settled and everybody moves on with their life, but you don't. You live day in, day out with this just overwhelming grief.
Well, about 10 days after his first birthday, he passed away. And it was hard to walk through that.
While I couldn't really be in charge of how my disease would progress or wouldn't progress, I just decided that the only steps I was taking was going to be forward.
I was able to forgive, and that first time when I forgave this man that killed him, I started finding and receiving hope in my own life. I mean, just so many things right away just lifted.
About a year or two later, we had another baby. Completely healthy, completely whole. We named her Faith.
So my advice to a young lady or a woman of any age suffering particularly with shame as it relates to sexuality, I understand. And there's hope.
That is really what I hope the Scarred Beautiful movement will produce, to see that even though you go through things, you don't have to stay there. You know, you can still move on. There's a rainbow on the other side of it.
But we all have scars. And that's the other thing that I would really encourage women to be more vulnerable and be more open about what they've gone through. Because when I started sharing my story, I met really hundreds and hundreds of women whose story was not that different than mine. And that in itself, that community in itself, gave me strength and endurance and made me realize I'm not isolated. I'm not going through this alone. And that was really important for me.
I am Sean.
My name is Meredith.
I'm Ashley.
My name is Elisa, and I am Scarred Beautiful.